Since Donald Trump announced a 90-day tariff pause on April 9th for all countries except China, we've seen that from the date of this announcement, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have been steadily climbing. In other words, it's not only the crypto market, but also traditional markets that viewed this news positively. In this video, we're going to answer a clear question. Has Bitcoin and the crypto market reached their bottom? Can we now be optimistic about the crypto ecosystem? We'll analyze what's currently happening in the crypto space, closely tracking smart money to evaluate possible market extremes. We'll resume our analysis right where we left off in the previous video with a special focus on XRP. As I mentioned before, XRP was like an open book. In the last Crypto Insight video published on April 9th, before Trump's tariff announcement, when XRP was around this area, we considered the possibility of a macro-level trap scenario forming around this defensive zone. This wasn't just an independent analysis of XRP. We were observing similar behavior on the Solana chart. As you can see, we also evaluated a macro-level trap scenario for Solana, suggesting we might be approaching a market extreme. We also highlighted SUI closely following this macro wedge pattern. We noticed a bearish climactic action, which we anticipated in our videos prior to April 9th, warning that a climactic crypto action might occur soon. And indeed, it eventually did. As I mentioned earlier, after witnessing this climactic action on April 9th, we began to believe that the crypto ecosystem, generally speaking, was at a market extreme and could start trending upward from there. To understand what we believe might happen next in the immediate, short, and medium term, it's crucial to grasp why we felt optimistic about the entire crypto ecosystem on April 9th at a time when no one else was. Let's revisit that explanation, specifically looking again at XRP and the potential trap and market extreme scenario we discussed. We believe the crypto ecosystem might eventually find itself at a market extreme as strong hands continue to defend bullish positioning through structures that support a reversal hypothesis. When we observe these structures being strongly respected, we should expect and tolerate the possibility of market probing, a scenario designed to generate fear and panic. A market trap, by definition, might indeed signify a market extreme. As you've seen, it was absolutely key to witness this recovery and consider the possibility that it was in fact a trap. In other words, we were identifying a very clear market extreme. And with SUI given its nature, where we were already anticipating this kind of bearish climactic action, and for other reasons we were observing on April 9th, even before Donald Trump's announcement, let me share why we believed this was the moment to start being positive on SUI. We were looking to hold the position, and on the other hand, we saw that SUI kept working that wedge pattern. At some point, if we're expecting a market recovery, especially considering how hard we've already dropped, look at the case of XLM, for example, which has fallen by nearly 70%, then we shouldn't be too far from the moment where we start seeing some kind of rebound in the crypto ecosystem. What you've just seen with SUI and a moment ago with XRP, as I mentioned and explained in the latest Crypto Insight video, we were already turning very bullish on the ecosystem, but I think what really helps us understand things better is what was happening on the Bitcoin chart on April 9th, specifically on the 1-hour time frame. That's when everything really started to unfold. The analysis you saw and that I shared in the last Crypto Insight video actually came after we had already done a live session with the Crypto Insight Premium community where we analyzed everything in real time. And right there, we were seeing how the smart money, the strong hands, was positioning itself very aggressively on the long side. It was heavily bought in. Basically, smart money was already betting that just a few hours later, Donald Trump would deliver a market-friendly speech, and that's exactly what happened. We at Crypto Insight Premium, during our daily live sessions, had already picked up on how smart money was preparing for this scenario. And that's when we built out the whole bullish idea that I later shared with you in that video. And it's absolutely crucial, vital to understand that on April 9th, we were already seeing smart money going long. That kind of insight is key if you want to understand what might come next in terms of price action. Let's take a look at what we said during that live session. We said, now taking into account that Ethereum had just pulled off a structural trap and that other assets were simultaneously simultaneously defending key support zones while Ethereum was doing its thing, we could reasonably assume that Bitcoin was also being defended by institutional players going long. So what do we do next? We try to locate where that institutional presence might be in Bitcoin to assess whether they're willing to defend that zone or not. We'll look at it on the Bitcoin chart and also on BNB, because BNB also illustrates it very clearly. And here we are watching Bitcoin live. Right now, they're testing that key area. That's something really interesting. All right, look at this. This is the 15-minute chart, okay? M15. First, we need to explain the full story. There's no problem with the fact that it's already dropping right now. That's not a concern. Nobody should feel rushed to take any action yet, okay? There's the price action. We see how it's coming down. There's clearly a strong selling delta. Just look at it here and here, especially during the climactic move. In that climactic action, we see dominant selling, but notice the delta. Those sell orders aren't really gaining ground, all right? So in this latest climactic move in Bitcoin and crypto, we could be seeing absorption, and that's important. You know, price has a tempo, right? It needs to develop at its own pace, but we didn't let it take its time. Yesterday, after identifying an interesting zone, we looked to see if it would be defended so we could trade the move, hunting for a possible extreme, but it didn't play out right away. They needed more time, and that's exactly what they've built here. That's why I told you they weren't ready, not yet. So, what caught my attention here? Take a look right there. Someone started buying. That's a key moment, a really key point. So what happened? After that absorbed climactic move, we're seeing some heavy selling, very clear, strong sell pressure for the current context. But that pressure didn't push the price any lower. The sell-off didn't follow through. Now, when institutions want to move the market, they've got enough capital to throw directional buys or sells into the market to hit their targets. So I asked myself, was that a real institutional sale? Honestly, it doesn't look like it. After that absorption, what do we see? A powerful move, a huge market buy that really stands out, and it did push the price higher. It actually moved the market. Now, why do I have this level marked here? We're looking at the price level of $76,440. That's the exact point where, after the absorbed sell-off, we saw a rotation, buyers stepped in, and this time, the buying actually moved the price. So that could be a sign of institutional presence, and that's why we're watching that specific level. We mark it and extend it to the right, because what just happened here was a serious burst of momentum. It's very possible that this kind of move is being engineered. They can absolutely create this. They create a wave of volatility. Why? To spark fear, to get retail traders to sell. And look who showed up here, buyers. And it looks like they're defending the level. So as long as we don't see this price level getting broken in the immediate short term, within the next hour, it makes sense to prioritize longs in intraday futures trading. But of course, we're right at the edge now. This is the moment to try going long. Seriously, take a look here. It's clear that the crypto ecosystem is ready for longs right now, like right now. Let's check what Bitcoin is doing. It's fighting it. We knew it would fight. The question is whether it can actually break through with conviction. The M15 close is going to be key here. We still don't know how this candle will end, but look at how it's holding that battle. See how it's fighting the cluster? The buyers, especially the institutional players who are already positioned, are saying, hey, I'm in here. I don't want this to drop. They're exposing themselves. A hypothesis we had from just a short while ago is now being validated in real time. And if the shorts are caught here, watch out, because they're going to defend this aggressively. So if it starts to pivot upwards right now, this is the moment, but it's got to do it now. There's no more room to fall, no more time to wait. This was the zone, and we've already allowed a little dip beyond it. Now we need confirmation that this move was a trap for shorts. That's why we need to see price move up quickly, just like it's starting to now, but let's see how it finishes. We're highly dependent on how this current candle closes. That's the key right now. Let's simplify it. If we get a quick move up, there's that buy coming in. Did you see that? Did you catch it? If we can reclaim this level strongly, and as you can see, it's not easy, then that opens up a whole day for long opportunities. But we don't just want a quick touch. We need a strong, clean recovery of the area. That's exactly what we're starting to see right now. That's what we needed to see, but it has to hold. If the move fades completely, it's no good. It's got to hold and build from here. And yes, it's still fighting. So, like I was saying, if we end up with a clean breakout and close above this level, let's mark it properly. Then we'll say that the rest of the day should be all about prioritizing longs. As you've just seen, the work we do at Crypto Insight is all about trying to analyze financial markets as objectively as possible, following the smart money, the strong hands, the institutions. And we do it using a methodology that's miles away from the so-called institutional trading or order block style or those flashy liquidity charts that claim to track everyone's stop losses. Honestly, that kind of charting just doesn't work. And if you want to know why, just ask me in the comments. But as you've seen, we were already spotting the opportunity to go long on Bitcoin and the entire crypto ecosystem. First, at this point, on April 9th, then again on April 10th, the next day, during another live session on Crypto Insight Premium. We were analyzing the market situation, updating our view to hunt for new opportunities, and what we were seeing right here in the area I'm pointing out was another strong chance to go long. That was the big opportunity in the market at that time. Now, here's the key. What we were looking at was a creek breakout, right? With this kind of formation, they had no choice but to go test the creek. At the very least, they had to go there. And what did they do? They went for liquidity. That's how they usually operate. Flush out the liquidity and then start recovering. Is everything already won? No. But if the stock market closes to the upside, that's a great sign. That's short-term strength. Just to give you a quick glimpse, this is the SP 500. The NASDAQ is doing something similar. It's going up to test the value area high. In NASDAQ's case, it didn't want to re-enter the value zone, and that's important, really important. It's crucial that it didn't re-enter the value zone. Why? Because if it does, that means, oh, I'm comfortable trading here again, and after a breakout like the one we've had from the creek, if it comes back and finds value in the same area, it's not a good sign. That's why we liked seeing the NASDAQ reject that value area high like it did. Same thing with the SP. Maybe it didn't exactly reject it, but it hit a major node, bam, grabbed liquidity, scared the hell out of everyone, and then boom. A strong impulse and a follow through. Same story with the Dow Jones. Same setup. That's a really healthy sign. And if we take a quick glance at some major stocks that make up the SP and NASDAQ, you'll start to get the picture. Just flashing them by real quick. So eagle eyes, all right? Just a snapshot so you have it in your head. And now let's go back to crypto. In crypto, Bitcoin may be trying to mimic that pattern. It might be attempting something similar: impulse, correction, re-enter, value. And Bitcoin hasn't quite done it yet, but it's trying. Let's see if it can manage to do it. So now that you've seen how we had a clear bullish bias in the market, not just for Bitcoin, but across the entire crypto ecosystem, let me now walk you through what we're seeing next, what could be coming for the crypto markets overall. And this is where it becomes really important to watch for these kinds of moves. Like with Chainlink, for example, you want to see that climactic action followed by a quick recovery. That's absolutely vital. And of course, let's not forget what we saw with XRP. After what looked like a potential trap, it made a strong comeback, reclaiming levels well above its defense zone. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, how can I be part of these amazing live sessions where we break down the market in real time? Because maybe you're also looking to catch these types of trading opportunities. Well, if you're an active trader, I invite you to join our private community at Crypto Insight Premium. I want to introduce you to our private Telegram channel, which is completely free. In fact, at the time of recording this video, we're also live streaming for the community. During these live sessions, we look for trading opportunities in the futures market. We focus on intraday trades, and within this community, members also share their operational ideas, what they're working on, and what they're looking for in the markets at any given moment. It's honestly very interesting. This community is constantly learning and improving. So if you're an active trader and tired of trading alone, you can join our community. It's very simple. The requirements are as follows. You need to be a user of BitUnix or BuyDFI, have deposited cryptocurrencies into your BitUnix or BuyDFI accounts with a minimum value of $100.00, and use this account as your primary futures trading account. In other words, you need to be actively trading. Once you've met these requirements, simply fill out the form displayed on the screen. It consists of just 5 simple questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And what better time to do it than now? Our friends at BitUnix have set up an exclusive promo for new users where they'll cover up to $100.00 in losses. So if this is your first time trading and you're looking to join the crypto Crypto Insight Premium Telegram channel, you might want to take advantage of this safety net in case of potential losses. Remember, BitUnix is an exchange that doesn't need a VPN to be accessed from anywhere in the world. To make things easier, I'm leaving you the BitUnix promo details and the Crypto Insight Premium access form in the description and pinned comment of this video. Now, to figure out what could happen next with Bitcoin and the broader crypto ecosystem, it's absolutely essential to also understand what's going on in the traditional markets, especially considering how tightly correlated everything is right now. What you're seeing here is the SP 500 on the daily time frame. We saw a massive drop in price, no less than around 22%. And this wasn't a quiet move. It came along with big, bold headlines, historic headlines, really. I'm talking about the crash here, not just the tariffs, though those too played a role. But now, after that steep drop, we're witnessing a rebound, almost 14%, which is no small thing. And to understand that, we need to zoom out a bit. What happened? Donald Trump came out swinging with an extremely aggressive and disproportionate tariff war, which naturally forced China to respond in kind. And when China responds, they do it their way, aggressively. It's tit for tat. And on top of that, we had the European Union and other countries considering their own forms of retaliation. But as we've seen in this video, everything started to shift after April 9th, when Trump gave a speech announcing a 90-day pause on the trade war. That move had a clear and positive impact, not just on the SP 500, but also on Bitcoin and the entire crypto market. What we're seeing now is that Trump, with these decisions, is showing that he does care about equities, and he does care about the bond market. He doesn't want to put them under too much stress. That's why we got this announcement on April 9th, basically him saying, okay, maybe I need to dial it back, because if I don't, I might actually cause a recession. So here's where we're at. The US has hit China with tariffs of 145% on Chinese products entering the country, and in response, China slapped US products with a total of 125% in tariffs as they come into China. On the other hand, the United States still has active tariffs on the European Union on steel, aluminum, and vehicles. Those are still in place, but the European Union doesn't seem eager to respond directly to those measures. Let's remember that the European Union proposed a 0-for-0 tariff agreement on industrial goods, basically suggesting that both sides drop all tariffs in that sector, but the US said that wasn't enough. America insisted that it wanted to supply energy to Europe instead. Meanwhile, we're seeing the European Union taking a different route, reaching out, opening new trade paths beyond its own continent. For example, it's working on free trade deals with the United Arab Emirates and is now also in talks with Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia. At the same time, we're also seeing that the European Union wants to strengthen its trade ties with China. In this case, they're using Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez as a diplomatic bridge, especially around the topic of electric vehicles. So the European Union is responding with patience, but it may also be using this situation as an opportunity to protect itself or to build new strategic relationships. It looks like Europe is trying to go in a direction that's frankly surprising, because if we stop and look at what's happening now, we're seeing a European Union that's acting pro-liberal, while the United States is behaving more protectionist, anti-liberal even. It sounds like science fiction, but it's what's happening right now in real time. Now, of course, long-term intentions may be a different story, and time will reveal those, but in the short term, the bottom line is this: the stock market seems to be taking all of this surprisingly well. Donald Trump is clearly showing signs that he wants to negotiate. He's not willing to let the markets collapse. So, based on what we're seeing now, we can say, at least for now, that if the SP 500 holds above the $50 mark, there's reason to stay positive on its medium and long-term outlook. In fact, that's been our stance ever since April 9th. So then what do we think specifically about Bitcoin in the crypto ecosystem? Let me break it down for you right now. But first,
welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity.
When it comes to Bitcoin, we've been saying for a while now that we're coming off a distribution phase, one that followed a strong upward impulse, and that impulse has been followed by a descending channel. So if we're talking midterm structure, from the moment that distribution began, as long as the top of this descending channel hasn't been broken decisively to the upside, we're still technically inside a bearish structure. Now, if you ask me personally, do I think this structure will eventually be broken, whether it's now or in the near future? And would I lean more toward a breakout than toward continued downside? My answer is yes. I do expect an upward breakout. And let me explain why. I'll break down exactly why I believe we're eventually going to break through this structure with strength. And if that happens, it could open the door to a much more positive mid to long-term outlook for Bitcoin. One solid argument is that Ethereum already experienced a 66% drop. Right now, we're watching a key structure that hasn't been fully confirmed as a trap yet, but it very well could be if we see a recovery of that structure. That recovery would mean breaking through the top of Bitcoin's descending channel, which could be a strong signal of renewed optimism in the crypto market. Of course, Ethereum alone doesn't tell us the whole story, but Ethereum as it stands now, based on what we've been seeing, is showing signs of what we were already considering, the possibility of a market trap. And as you can see, it played out. It actually happened. The first key step was reclaiming the defense zone, and that's already done. So the question now is, what's the next step for us to remain bullish on crypto? The answer is pretty simple. The next step is for Ethereum to hold that defense zone, which is roughly around $1,987. A tiny fake out wouldn't be the end of the world, but if the zone holds, then I'm confident we're building a creek pattern here. And from there, yes, we can stay positive. Now, in this video, I'm not going to dive into the intraday noise or give you my thoughts on what might happen today or tomorrow. That's a kind of analysis we do live inside the private Crypto Insight Premium Telegram channel. But what I'm giving you here is our broader mid to long-term view, something that helps you stay aligned with the bigger market sentiment, whether you're investing or actively trading. And of course, inside Crypto Insight Premium, we go way deeper into the details, as you've already seen in the flashbacks throughout this video. Why do we think Bitcoin is eventually going to break out of this descending channel at some point? Well, it's because of what we're seeing right here, this trap in Solana. After losing its key defense zone, Solana seems to be starting to recover. It's still early, nothing's fully confirmed yet, but if this were a checklist with 3 key events that need to happen before we can flip fully bullish, then we'd say the first one, triggering a trap and reclaiming the zone, that's already happened. The second step would be not losing that zone again. We still don't know if that one's going to hold in the near future. And the third step, breaking the structure itself. If we get all 3, then yes, we'll be able to say openly, look, we've got plenty of reasons to be bullish here, but you already know how this works. In trading, there's no point being late to the move. Our goal is always to be ahead of it. That's why even now we're leaning bullish, and I can tell you this, what you don't want to see is Solana dropping below that key defense level, which is sitting around $123. If that happens, we'd have to reassess and reevaluate the whole situation. Of course, over at Crypto Insight Premium, we'll be covering all of that live and in real time. Now let's talk about BNB, and here I need to zoom in a bit, actually even switch to the 4-hour time frame, because what we've seen from BNB is a very aggressive climactic action right at a major defense zone, and it left behind a gap showing clear seller weakness. That's a very strong signal for a potentially bullish midterm outlook. It was actually one of several key reasons why on both April 9th and 10th, we were already looking to take long positions in the crypto ecosystem. And it's also why we feel optimistic about the idea that sooner or later, Bitcoin could break through the top of that channel. We'll evaluate exactly when that happens once the setup is clearer. Now, keep in mind, this is a mid to long-term analysis. That means there can be short-term noise. Maybe we dip first before breaking out, or maybe we break directly. That short-term movement is something we cover in detail during our live sessions at Crypto Insight Premium. So just hold on to this mid to long-term signal. For now, it's a bullish one. And if you see a bit of bearish noise in between, just know that's totally normal. This type of analysis and all the ones we share are still perfectly valid within that broader context. And hey, if you enjoyed this kind of advanced technical breakdown built on more than 13 years of experience, leave us a comment on YouTube. And if you like the content we're putting out, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so YouTube lets you know when we drop new videos. Best best of luck with your trades and see you in the next one.